everyone, this is Amanda from Amanda's Booktopia. If you're new here, welcome, and if not, welcome back. And today I want to go over all the books that I've read for the month of March. Sorry this is late, I'm only just getting to this. And I need to go through everything that I've read, because there are some I'm probably going to get rid of from this stack for my next haul/unhaul project. But first, let's go through the books that I read on Kindle and audio, because that stuff I do not have physical copies of. So the first Kindle book that I read was Rewrite Our Story by Kat Singleton. I can't talk today. Kat Singleton is the author's name. And I DNF'd it at 68%. Unfortunately, I had a huge problem with the male lead, Cade. He such a massive gaslighter that it's not even funny. And he completely blamed the female main character for everything, even though he's just as responsible, if not more so, for everything that happens in the book. I just could not deal. So I ended up DNFing it, and I'm probably not going to read that series. The next ebook I read was Curse of the Thorn King by Lizette Marshall. That was a Patreon buddy read that I read with Jess from Honest Fiction. It was our book that we picked for the month of March, and I did enjoy it. It was a good time. I ended up giving it 4 stars. It wasn't like fabulous, out of this world amazing, but it was a Beauty and the Beast retelling with Fae thrown in, and I definitely had a good time reading that. And I really enjoyed the characters. So that was a fun read, so it ended up being 4 stars. For an audiobook that I listened to was The Will of the Many by James Islington. I read this because it's a Cassidy favorite. Cassie from Courage with Cassidy really loved this book. So I participated in Realmathon, and one of the prompts was to read one of her favorites. So I decided to try the audio and see if I liked it. It was not a bad story. I did enjoy it for the most part. However, I wasn't like in love with the story. It wasn't like my top tier favorite. There was a lot going on, a lot of good moments, but sometimes it was a little bit hard to understand for me. I'm also not real into high fantasy. I mean, there is some references to it, but it wasn't like my favorite of all time. It was still fun. I had a good time with it. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars in the end, because I really, really liked the narrator. The narrator did an excellent job. And it was easy to follow along for the most part, but there were times that it got a little bit confusing. And that's why I ended up with a 3.5 star rating in the end. And then the next ebook I read was Rock Bottom Girl by Lucy Score. This was the Sweeney Readers Romance Book Club pick for the month of March, and I absolutely loved it. I love the main character Marley and Jake, the two of them. I absolutely loved them. It was so much fun. I was laughing out loud. I got all giddy when it came to Jake, because he is definitely a hero worth reading about. This was the second book I read from Lucy Score. My first one from her was Forever Never, that I read years ago, and I absolutely loved it. So far, everything I've read from Lucy Score has not steered me wrong. And I loved everything I've read from her so far. It was very good. And then the next ebook I read was Whispers of You by Catherine Cowles. I picked this up because I was feeling a little bit slumpy when I was reading another book, and I felt like I needed something a little bit different to perk myself back up. So I was watching Nikki from Nikki's Bookish Coven. She's one of my besties. She was reading the series, and I decided I have the ebook to the first one. So I figured, why the hell not? So I put down the book I was reading and picked up Whispers of You. I had a great time with it. The mystery was on point. The romance was on point. I loved everything in that story. It was great. I ended up giving it 5 stars. It was so much fun. And then that was all the ebooks and audiobooks that I read. Now let's get to other physical ones, which I have here in my cart. And let me show you how big this cart is, because this is stacked high with books. Each shelf on this cart has a ton of them. So we're going to go through these one by one, and I will tell you my thoughts. So let me move this off to the side so it's not right in front. So we're going to start from the end of the month, basically. Well, not exactly the end of the month, but I have them stacked all different and different. I didn't actually put this in order. Let's put it that way. But the last book I ended up reading for March, anyways, is pretty much at the top of the stack. So we'll start from there. So I needed a book for Buzzword, and March was character names in the title. So I picked up Amari and the Night Brothers, and I really had a fun time with this. I loved that it was set in a magical school, and I really enjoyed Amari and the people that she ran into and started getting to know. It was a really fun story. It didn't blow me out of the water, but I had a fun time, so I ended up giving it 4 stars. And I do recommend checking this out if you have not read it yet. It's about this girl named Amari. She believes her missing brother is alive, so she decides to try and find him. But this magical school ends up coming to her and invites her into the school. And she finds out more about her missing brother, and it's a fantastic, fun time. I had so much fun. So I definitely want to continue the series, because I want to know what happens next. So another book I read was The Women by Kristen Hanna. This was one of the books that I ended up being kind of slumpy with. It was kind of slow going. I understood why, because it's during the Vietnam War, and the main character ends up becoming a nurse in Vietnam during that time frame. And it started off interesting, and then it got really slow, and it became time consuming and a bit of a chore, which is why I picked up Whispers of You, and then came back to it and finished it. It was not my favorite of Kristen Hanna's. I've read a lot of her books, and this one was just not top tier for me. But it was an interesting story, and the direction that it went in. The ending, I think, was better than the rest of the book. I originally gave it 4 stars. I'm thinking I might lower it just a tad, maybe to like 3.5. It wasn't my favorite. She has some really good books out there. Like The Nightingale is great, Winter Garden, Fly Away. She's got some really good books out there. However, this was not a favorite, and I'm very sad about that, because I was really hoping this would like blow me out of the water like her other books have, and this unfortunately just was not one of them. So I probably will be unhauling this at some point, because I don't think I'm ever going to read this again, which is sad because I love Kristen Hanna. This did not quite work for me, unfortunately. But this next book has become an absolute favorite, so we're going to go with that. So this is A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. This blew me out of the water. This was absolutely amazing. I loved every minute of this book. I did not want to put this down. So this is about a girl named Freya who's in an unwanted marriage, and then her husband betrays her to, I think it's pronounced Jarl. It's spelled J-A-R-L, but I think that J is silent, I'm pretty sure. But she's forced into another marriage where she has to be like a fighter for him to fulfill this prophecy. And it's a very, very good story. There's one tiny bit that I ended up predicting. However, I could not put this down. I loved it so much. The way it ended. When I found out this was going to be a series, I'm like, I need the next book like ASAP. This was a 5-star read. I could not get enough of this. This is a Book of the Month copy, but I want to replace this copy with a sprayed edge copy with the blue sprayed edges, because I would much prefer to have that on my shelves than the Book of the Month copy, because this was an outstanding book, and I would definitely reread this in a heartbeat. It was absolutely amazing. I think everybody should read this. And then I also ended up reading Never Lie by Frida McFadden. This was my first book by Frida McFadden, and I absolutely loved it. The twists I did not see coming. This was amazing. Ever since I read this book, I'm like, I need to collect all of her books. So I'm in the process of collecting books one by one. Speaking of one by one, she has a new book called One by One. So you'll see that in a video very soon. But I absolutely love Frida's writing. Her twists took me by storm. I absolutely loved every minute of this. It's about these newlyweds, Trisha and Ethan, and they're trying to buy this house. The original owner just vanished completely off the face of the earth, and then they end up trapped at this house, and all kinds of strange things are going on, and Trisha stumbles upon these tapes from the original owner, because the original owner is a psychiatrist, and it was absolutely amazing. I was like gripped. I could not put this down. I read this all in one sitting. It was that good. I highly recommend Never Lie in case you haven't read it yet. And then the next book I picked up, Ray told me I should read this, so I did. And this was The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I originally picked this out for Ray to read. For those who are new to my channel, Ray is my fiance, and when I picked this out for him to read, he dove into it and did not come up for air until the very end. He absolutely loved it. So he told me that I should read it. So I read it, and I wasn't completely blown away. I mean, it was definitely a good story. I had a good time with it. The twists at the end, I did not see coming. Like, I really did not see it coming. So that was what really made the book for me, I think. And the journey to get there was interesting. But it wasn't, like, incredible to the point where I could not get enough. But it was still a fun time, so I ended up giving it 4 stars for that reason. But it was still fun. So I definitely recommend it for people who like psychological thrillers, because this is definitely a good one. And then the next book I ended up reading was Destroy the Day by Brigitte Kemmerer. This is the last book in the Defy the Night series by her, and it starts with Defy the Night. Second one is Defend the Dawn, and Destroy the Day is the 3rd book in the series. And I'm so glad I finished out the series. It was amazing. 5-star series. It's basically kind of like, it starts out in the first book as like a Robin Hood retelling with a little bit of romance, and there's fantasy, and there's kings, and all kinds of stuff going on in this series. And I also got Ray to read the series as well, and he absolutely loved it as much as I did. He was like, wow, this is an amazing series. It actually put him into a book slump after reading this one. So I'm so glad I got him to read that series, because he loved it so much, and I love it so much. I honestly think I want to be reading this series. If you like a good YA fantasy, I mean, there is a little bit of like fade to black scenes, but honestly, you do not need spicy scenes in this series. For those who usually like the spicy scenes, usually I do too, but this series was incredible. It probably would have detracted a little bit if there was spicy scenes, but like, I did not even worry about that, because this series is so engaging. Like, you do not need all the spicy stuff to enjoy the series. It was action-packed from start to finish, and everything was just incredible. So I highly recommend this series if you have not yet read it. And then I did a reread of my special edition of Caraval. This is just a case, but I love Caraval so much, so I did a reread on it just for Realmathon, and it was fun. I always have a good time with this series, so I'm glad I reread it. this has always been a 5-star series for me. I know a lot of people don't like it nearly as much as the spin-off series, which I don't quite understand. I mean, to some aspects I get it, but it's so engaging. Like, how can you not put this down? I mean, how can you? I mean, it's one of those series that just grips you and doesn't let you go. So that's why I love it so much, and I was glad to have a reread of it. Next one, we have Rule of the Aurora King by Nisha J. Tooley. This is the second book in the Trials of the Sun Queen series, and the next book in the series comes out in June, which is June 4th to be exact. And I am ecstatic for it, because this is an amazing series. In the first book, it's kind of like The Bachelor meets fantasy romance with a little bit of Hunger Games thrown in, a little bit of Harry Potter thrown in. It was just like a mix of like all kinds of things. And the more into the series that you get, the world building gets more complicated, gets more intricate. And this book I absolutely loved. It was so fun. I don't think it blew me away. I know I gave the first one 5 stars. I think I gave this one, was it 4 or 4.5? Somewhere around there. But I cannot wait to continue the series and see where it goes from here. I highly recommend checking it out if you haven't yet. It's such a fun fantasy romance. And like, things happen that I wasn't expecting. I mean, there was things that I did predict that happened. So I was right. One of the predictions I had in the first book was confirmed in this one. But I'm so glad I read this. I cannot wait to continue the series and see where it goes. I'm sure there's much more to come. There's supposed to be 4 books in the series. And the 3rd book is coming out very soon, in a couple months. So I cannot wait to see what happens next. And then the next book we've got was Murder Road by Simone St. James. This was a buddy read that I did with Anna from the Liminal Season, I think her channel name's called. I will link her down below. She's so nice and she's so much fun to talk to. And we decided we wanted to read Murder Road together. So I met her through Realmathon. But it was so much fun reading this book. This was my first from this author. I've never read anything by her before. And this definitely intrigued me enough. I want to read more of her backlist. So I have more of her books on my Amazon wish list. And this was a fun time. Especially because the main characters are from Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I lived in Ann Arbor for 7 years as a kid. And in that, so it kind of brought me back to my childhood a little bit when they talked about Ann Arbor. Because I lived in Ann Arbor. I went to school there for quite some time. So it was kind of like a fun way to reintroduce me to my childhood again. And there's some paranormal stuff in here and some thriller aspects that I had a good time with. The ending, I wish it could have been a bit better. It was slightly predictable and I kind of saw it coming. So it wasn't like it blew me out of the water, but I still had a good time with it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. It was a very enjoyable read, and I definitely want to see, I want to read her other books and see if I like any of her other books more than this one. I mean, not that this was a bad book. I had a good time. Just wasn't, it didn't blow me out of the water. And I felt like she could have done more with the ending. And then the next book I ended up reading was A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal. This is I got the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. So it has like the silver foiling on the hardcover. Oh, my bad. And then the end pages are really nice. I like these end pages. And this resembles Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo quite a bit. It was a little bit slow going at first, though. It took like a good half of the book to get to the good stuff. I mean, I know they're introducing the characters and their backgrounds a little bit in the beginning, so it took a little bit of time to get there. It took a little bit, because it took that much time to get to the actual heist and everything that goes on in this book, is the reason why I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't an amazing story that I couldn't get enough of, but it was still a fun time. I ended up enjoying the rest of it. It was just the beginning was kind of slow. And that's why I gave it a 4-star rating. But it was still fun. I'm not sure if this is going to be a series or not. If it is, I'll check out the next book, because I would definitely be interested to see where it goes from here, if there is another one. I have another book by her. I think it's called We Hunt the Flame or something like that. I still need to check out. Maybe that one will be even better than this one. Let me know if you've ever read We Hunt the Flame, and let me know what you thought of it, because I definitely want to check it out. This was just a little bit slow, and for that reason is why I gave it 4 stars, because at least it ended up as a really good story. And then the next one I started but did not finish was Modelland by Tyra Banks. And now I see why it was very low rated on Goodreads. Tyra, I love her as a model, but unfortunately a writer she is not. I had to DNF this at like page 60, I think it was. It was very juvenile, and the writing was not there for me, and it was not engaging. I gave up. I couldn't do it. It was too much. It was too over the top, and I'm like, I can't do this. I did not want to put myself through trying to read a book I was not having fun with. So I'm like, you know what? This can go. So I ended up DNFing it. And then the next book I read was finishing another series, which I'm very glad I finished a lot of series. So I read Nightblood by Ellie Blake. This is the 3rd book in the Frostblood trilogy and this girl named Ruby in the first one, she goes through a heck of a lot, and then throughout the series she really grows into her own, and a lot of things happen in the series. I know the first book I gave 5 stars. Second book I gave like 4.5, I think it was. And this one I think I gave 5 stars to as well. I think the first book and this book were my favorites of the series. The second book was still really good, but it wasn't like it blew me away like this one and the first one did. But it was an incredible series. I had so much fun with it. And she's basically fighting to get rid of the Mind Axe. And the Mind Axe is like the Mind Axe is... What are they exactly? Like Nightbloods? Well, the Mind Axe is something that's connected to the story that she needs to get rid of in order to survive. Like, there's a lot of survival going on in this series. Like, Ruby is such a survivor. She does so well with picking herself back up. And I feel like this could be similar in some ways to another series that I read. I can't remember exactly what it was. But it gave me all the fantasy, all the romance, all the action. It was a great series. So I'm so glad I finished it. It was so, so good. And then another book that I read was House of Roots and Ruin by Erin A. Craig. This is the 2nd book after House of Salt and Sorrow. This follows Giannis' sister Verity. And this was a decent book. I ended up skipping a lot of description and going to the dialogue because it was very slow going for a while. I'm not sure if I gave it 4 stars or was it 3.5. I can't remember. It was somewhere around there, 3.5, 4 stars. I absolutely loved the first one so much, and I was hoping this would measure up to the first. This didn't quite measure up to the first one, unfortunately, for me. But I still had a good time. I just had to skip quite a bit of description to get to the good stuff. It took a while to get to the action, because most of the book is very, very slow. Like, it's mainly focusing... I mean, we're following Verity in this story. And she's asked to paint a portrait for this couple's son. And so she travels to do so. But she's getting to know the son, she's getting to know the parents, and everybody in this castle. And it takes a while to get to the punch, I guess you could say. It's just, it was a little bit rough going for a while, but it did get better. The ending, I was not expecting. So the ending was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the end. I'm not sure if there's going to be another book in this series. If there is, I still want to read it and check it out and see what happens. I think there is another book coming for one of the other sisters. I don't think it's been released. Well, I don't think the author has given a release date yet for it. But I'm definitely interested. So, if it's especially if it's following another sister. Because the sisters have gone through quite a lot in the first book. I highly recommend House of Salt and Sorrows if you haven't read it yet. This book, I don't think it will be for everybody. Like, if you feel like you need more plot and character-driven stories, then this might not be the one for you. Because it's very, very character-driven. So I'm pretty sure I gave this like 4 stars. And now for the last stack of books. So, there was a couple of books that Ray picked out for me to read. Because there was, I think it was towards the end of March, I started not knowing what to read. So Ray picked out a couple of books for me to read. So let me talk about those. Let's talk about the one that didn't hit for me. And that was The Stranger Upstairs by Lisa M. Matlin. I gave this 3 stars. This was, I know some of my besties did not like this book. It is fairly short, so it didn't take me long to read. But I really despise the main characters. Like, seriously, could not stand the 2 main characters at all. And I just wanted to skip their parts and find out what's really going on with the house. The house I was interested in. The characters not so much. And I really was like, come on. I could not stand their motivations, their decision making. But things started happening with the house and the main character. So I had to keep going just to find out what happened. And by the time I found out what actually happened, I was bummed. Man, it was not the ending I wanted. And I was so sad about that. Even though I gave this 3 stars, I'm thinking I might bump it down some more. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, this was not a very good book. I was very disappointed in this one. Because, like, it's supposed to be about this girl named Sarah, who's like a influencer. And she's renovating this house that she moved into with her husband. And things are happening within the house. And I was just like, can we move on, people? Like, I had a hard time with this book. I think I might lower my rating on this to like maybe 1.5. Yeah, it was not fun. I was very sad about that. So, I even got Ray to try this with me, and he DNF'd it. I ended up telling him what actually happened in the end. So, yeah, it was not good. But he picked out another good one for me, which was The Rosewood Hunt by Mackenzie Reed. This was a gift from Stephanie, my stepsister, so thank you, Stephanie, for gifting this to me, because I really enjoyed this a lot. This was so much fun. This is basically about this girl named Lily, and her grandmother is like the CEO of the company, and then Lily's supposed to be the next person to take over after her. But then her grandmother dies, and then her fortune has completely gone missing. And so she has this whole game in place for Lily to embark on with some other people and see if they could actually try and find the fortune. So it's basically like, it's kind of like a treasure hunt where they're looking for the fortune. And it was such a fun time. I think I read this like in 1 sitting almost. 1.5 sittings. Does that count? But I devoured this and I absolutely loved it. Some of the twists I did not see coming. I predicted one of the characters, one of the things that happened with one of the characters I did see coming. But the rest of it, I'm like, dang, I did not know that was going to happen. I'm like, wow. It was such an impact. I absolutely love this so much. I ended up giving it 5 stars because of that ending. The ending was crazy. And this was such a fun thriller. It's a YA thriller. And I absolutely loved it. I highly recommend, because I have not seen a single person talk about this book. And it was fabulous. So if you want to go YA thriller, this is one for you. It was so engaging and I could not put it down. It was so, so good. And then I have another stack of books here. Most of them, well, actually the rest of these, if you saw my Realmathon vlog for Peace Talks, you would recognize these ones. If I could even get them out without them falling everywhere. Whoa, I dropped books. So these are all the graphic novels and short books that I read in the Realmathon Peace Talks weekend, and I did a whole vlog on it. So I'm not going to go into all my thoughts on them, but I will show you the books that I did read. So we have Wonka by Roald Dahl. This is the exact same thing as the movie prequel. And then we have The Selection by Kiera Cass. We have Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Khaw. We have Spy School by Stuart Gibbs. We have a graphic novel of Les Miserables. We have Sheets by Brenna Thumler. And we have The Sweet Valley Twins. That was made into a graphic novel. And we have Lore Olympus Volume 1. And The Librarian of Auschwitz, which is all the books that I read during that Realmathon Peace Talks weekend. I'm not going to go into all my thoughts on these because I have that vlog up. I will link the vlog down below if you want to hear all my in-depth thoughts. Overall, it was a fun weekend. I had some good ones in there. Very rarely did I not like something. There was only one of these that I did not enjoy. But for the most part, these were pretty good. It was a fun time. I enjoyed that weekend. So I will leave the link down below for Realmathon Peace Talk so you can check out that vlog. And that is everything that I read in the month of March. Everything. I read a lot. Now to get these back on the cart. So, that is everything I read for the month. And the next couple months, we're going to have a lot more. So I'm thinking I'm going to cut down my wrap-ups and do like every couple months maybe, or quarterly, or I haven't decided yet. But I'm thinking I might, in terms of timing, I want to do more vlogs. So I might save my wrap-ups for like every couple months or every 3 months. I haven't decided yet. But I want to give myself time to do more vlogs and more TBRs and stuff like that. So I might be cutting down on my wrap-ups just a little bit, and then do like big wrap-ups when it's time to go like through the couple months or so. Just to give you more of a broad scheme of things. But that was everything I have read in the month of March. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have you read any of these books? What did you think of them? Is there anything that you would recommend that you think I would like because I read these books? Or, tell me all the things. So if you like this video, give me a huge thumbs up. If you want to see more bookish content from me, make sure you smash the subscribe button down below. And I'll see you all next time.